Hi, my name is Sébastien Fournel, holder of the leadership chair in teaching for sustainable buildings, for sustainable farm buildings. The role is to support producers in enlightened decision-making. To do that, we will train the future engineers who will transfer that knowledge, and we will pursue innovative research projects over 4 main themes that you can see here on your screen. For the dairy sector, we will simply establish the various elements that we have to look at the sustainability stage of tomorrow. What could this future look like? We could be greatly inspired of the cow garden concept coming from Dutch researchers. We expect that next stages for tomorrow would be more natural, with more space and access to more natural light. We want a farm of tomorrow that will be healthier, to get ambient conditions that are optimal for the growth of animals. We want more comfortable barns with exercise surfaces, with more natural surfaces, getting away from nylon as much as possible, leverages the reuse of water, and a step that will be carbon neutral by limiting greenhouse gas emissions linked with manure management, for example. In my lab, how is this translated? It's through different projects that allow us to establish the barn of tomorrow. In one project, a set of 3 graduates in environmental engineering compared the various parameters of one conventional freestyle barn with a conventional tie-style barn. They established and measured the environmental conditions in those 2 types of barns to realize that for access to the barn, it's generally cold, and it allows for a better luminosity, 3 times more light, and it allows for a reduction of the ammonium concentration in the barn. They also compared the economic data for these 2 types of barns to realize that they are relatively similar. The barn is bigger and requires less materials and less divisions and walls. And with the literature, we were able to establish that possibly the greenhouse barns, thanks to the bedding areas on composted materials, would allow for an increase in the productivity of those types of barns. Thanks to Industrie Arnois, which supported the students throughout that project about greenhouse barns. We also have a project on biofiltered and aerated exercise pens that could be used as a compromise before moving to a freestall barn, so as to be able to offer some exercise to the cows in the tie stall environment. These pens, these aerated exercise pens, were put behind the barns, and during various experimentations, we were able to evaluate different parameters such as animal well-being and animal behavior, thanks to our cooperation with the University of Montreal and McGill University. Also, one of our PhD students, Elizabeth, follows up on the quality of water under the pens. We know that the water could be rejected and discharged directly in a water body rather than being stored directly in the ditch. And another of my students takes care of measuring gas emissions coming out of those pens. Of course, those emissions have to be added to the emissions coming from the building if we want to have an integrated concept. So I would like to thank the partners in this project. Another project that we have in collaboration with the state is about the use of a solid fraction of separated digestate as safe bedding and suitable bedding in a dairy barn. For a project that will last 1 year, we'll follow 2 dairy barns on recycled manure solids. During a certain period, part of the totality of the barns will be transferred on a separate digestate bedding. So we will evaluate the comfort, quality of the litter, as well as air quality, to evaluate whether this is an adequate bedding and that could eventually be safe. The separated digestate will come from the Agri-Warwick cooperative, which has the required equipment to separate and store digestates. So thanks to Group Carbon Partner and all the other partners which you see on your screen. The last project that I want to talk to you about is the project that we have just filed with partners from the University of Sherbrooke. We try to be inspired with what is done in terms of biofiltration of methane in landfill sites to apply this type of technology to dairy barns to try to process effluents when they're discharged out of the ventilation equipment. You see on the screen the types of systems that this involves in terms of biofilters. My colleagues Alexandre Caban at the University of Sherbrooke has tested this at the lab stage to realize that when we adjust and when we look at the gas concentrations at the outside, at the exit of the dairy barns, we could reduce or abate almost 100% of all the methane. So the project is to test this system on a pilot scale. So thanks again to all the partners in this project for methane biofiltration. That completes my presentation. And if you want to know more about the activities of our chair, I invite you to consult our brand new website. Thank you.